we have to look at some textbook style questions and their answers about suvat equations. Now, we have some nasty students at this particular school decided to throw this cat off the top of the building. The building is around 10 meters high and the cat falls down. The poor cat. We can find out what the suvat values are. S is the distance that it travels, which is 10 meters. U is the initial speed, which is 0 because you're just dropping the cat. V is the final velocity, which we don't really know yet. A is the acceleration downwards. Now, the acceleration due to gravity is 10 meters per second squared. And what is the time? We don't know that either, so we put a T for this. Now, these are the suvat equations, and we have to decide which one of these we're going to use to be able to answer the question. So here comes the question. What is the time taken for the cat to hit the floor? So we know vertically the acceleration is 10 meters per second squared. And we need to find the t, which is the time for the cat to fall. Now, which equation do we need? Well, we look at these three equations. We don't know v and we don't know t. So we do not want an equation which has v in it, which is the first and the second. So we have to use the third equation. That has the t that we want to find out, and it has s and u, which we already know. So we use the third equation. S equals ut plus half at squared. Now you know that u is equal to 0, so ut disappears. So s is equal to half a t squared. You know that a is equal to 10, so half of a is 5. And the distance s is 10, so t squared is equal to 2. So we need to find the square root of t squared, in other words, the square root of 2 to get t. And that's 1.41 seconds. It takes 1.41 seconds for the poor cat to hit the floor after the nasty students threw it from the roof. Here we have the same situation, the same cat, and we'll put in the values we know. That s is still 10 meters, u is still 0, v we don't know, a is 10 meters per second squared, but now we know that the time is 1.41 seconds. These are the suvat equations. Now the new question is, find the velocity when it hits the floor. So we need to have an equation which has velocity in it. It's not going to be the last equation because there's no velocity there. It's either the first or the second. And we'll probably go for the first equation because it looks a little bit simpler than the second. We know vertically the acceleration is 10 meters per second squared. So we find the final velocity v. So vertically, v is equal to u plus at. We know that u is equal to 0, a is equal to 10, and t is equal to 1.41. So we substitute these values. V is equal to 0 plus 10 times 1.41 gives a value of 14.1 meters a second. That's the speed that the cat is travelling at when it hits the floor, or hits the water, if it makes it to the water. Poor cat and nasty students. Another problem, how far from this block is this cat going to land if it runs off the edge of the block? So that's the cat landing at this point here. We want to find the distance that it travels in getting there. Horizontally, the acceleration is 0 because it's got a constant velocity. We can say that distance is equal to speed times by time. So let's say the cat is running at 2 meters a second. It comes off the block at 2 meters a second. How far from the base does it land? We know vertically the acceleration is 10 meters per second squared. So we need to find, first of all, the time it takes to fall. Why do we need to find the time it takes to fall? Because we know the speed. We need to find the time to calculate the distance that it travels. So let's find the time to fall. These are the values. S is equal to 1 meter. U is equal to 0 because vertically the speed is equal to 0. V, we don't know, we don't care. A is acceleration downwards, which is 10 meters per second squared, and the time is what we have to find out. So it's the third equation. S is equal to ut plus half at squared. We'll simplify that because u is equal to 0. So 1, which is 1 meter, is equal to 5t squared. So it's the fifth is equal to t squared. So t is equal to 0.447 seconds. That's the time it takes to fall down. So what is the distance that it travels? Horizontally, it has constant velocity. So distance is equal to speed times time. We know the speed is 2 meters a second. We know the time is 0.447 seconds. So the distance is the speed times time. 2 times 0.447 gives a distance of 0.894 meters. That's how far the cat lands from the base of the block.